Today's podcast is brought to you by our friends over at SmartDeploy, the first and only to offer Windows deployments from the cloud. Head on over to smartdeploy.com/FRD. And that took me 2 takes because I combined 2 things.
That's fine.
So, Paul, it's been a week. Actually, it's been a morning.
I was going to say, it's been 24 hours. How come Microsoft hasn't updated Windows 11 yet? Is that where you were leading with?
Well, no, I was going to lead with, on Monday, Facebook went down and the world got happy. And then came back, unfortunately, despite our wishes. And then this morning, if you haven't read the internets yet, or if you're just logging into this podcast, the Twitch got hacked and leaked.
I did not see that.
It leaked a ton of information, including payments to their creators, source code from the website, and all sorts of stuff. So if you use Twitch and you have a password over there, it might be in your best interest to go change that real quick.
Huh. Do I have a Twitch account?
I don't know.
I can tell you I've not received a cent from that company, so probably not.
If you've ever, whatever, just be aware of that because, we can't have nice
that
things.
Company being, aren't they owned by Amazon?
Yeah, so it's effectively at Amazon got hacked.
Yeah.
But it's only Twitch.
It's only Twitch.
Which is,
Twitch
only a
is,
multi-billion-dollar business
yeah.
and only...
Well, it's like, Amazon brings them in the house, but they have their own stuff, like at LinkedIn or whatever. Like they don't care.
Yeah. So anyways, you got that.
Fun.
Google yesterday rudely interrupted Microsoft's launch party and announcements for fun stuff with saying, hey, look.
Sure.
Here's some service.
Well, Apple did too, right? Apple announced when the Apple Watch Series 7 will be available. Same thing.
Was that on Tuesday or Monday?
I don't know what's going on anymore.
It happened within
this point. I just talk. It just comes out of my head. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Whatever.
To say that I've checked out is perhaps a gross understatement.
Did you feel anything with your pen yet?
I did. And did you read what I wrote?
What?
So this is interesting. I was talking to Brett yesterday about this, and he was complaining. He said to me, he says, I'm trying to figure this thing out, and so he says sometimes I can feel it, but it's really subtle. I'm like, yeah. And he says you got to go into settings and turn up the haptics all the way, and it's a different term. They call it something intensity, or they use a different term for this thing in settings, of course, because why would they call it what they call it when they talk to the press? And yeah, sure enough, it's set to like 50% intensity, so I put it up to 100%. And when I did that, I felt the little pen gave a little haptic vibration. I thought, okay, here we go. So I started writing in whiteboard. And by the way, I was correct about one thing. This requires a supported application. So, and it actually works in the UI, of course, but I mean, to do it while writing or drawing or whatever, the application has to support it. So there are only several that do, but all the main Microsoft apps, except for OneNote, support this, which is hilarious, by the way. So I go to whiteboard, and yeah, a little bit. I was like, okay, for a second, and then it would go away, and it mostly wasn't working. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. So I kept going back and forth and trying to figure it out. And eventually, this is the goofiest thing in the world. For some reason, the pen was set to be for a lefty in settings, not a righty. You'd think righty would be the default because more people are righty than lefty. So I was like, oh, that can't possibly have impacted this. But yeah, that did it. I switched it to right-handed mode, and it works now. It's really subtle, even at 100% intensity, whatever the setting was called. But
exactly.
Anything digital that emulates anything analog, for lack of a better term, is never exactly right. It's sort of like it's like the Instagram filter of writing effects. Or
yeah,
I appreciate what they're trying to do. It's not what I would call magical or whatever, and it's certainly not bad. Like I don't see anyone using this and being like no, and then turning it off. Like it's fine, but it's not. It's interesting.
You want to go out of your way to buy this for that specific feature.
Yeah, and well, it's the only major difference between this and the original pen, the Slim pen. There are other differences. I guess it has a finer point tip. And maybe that's it. I don't know. I think that maybe that's the whole thing. But the weird thing to me is just the weird axis of things you need to have for this to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need a Surface Pro 8 or a Surface Laptop Studio. And by the way, I said it right this time, which I'm really proud of. You need Windows 11.
Mm-hmm.
You need the Surface Slim Pen 2. And you need an application that supports it. So you really need 4 different things for this to work. And granted, if you buy a Surface Pro 8 or Surface Laptop Studio,
mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? Yeah. Now I'm doubting myself. You have most of those things, right? They come with Windows 11. The hardware's there. If you buy the type cover with the pen, or just the pen, I guess, you have that component. And then on that system, you'll have something that will work with it. Like Whiteboard, I think, comes with Windows, or if it doesn't, you can get it through the store. I don't remember the other apps. It works in Word. It doesn't work in any version of OneNote. That was the one that stuck out to me. It's like, interesting.
You would think that would be
job one.
Yep.
Well, no, OneNote is going through an awkward phase. Obviously, they had gone down that OneNote for Windows 10 path for several years. Then they kind of scaled it back and said, we're bringing back 2016, which we're not going to call 2016. And then we're going to start updating with new features. That was the thing. And now that's going to be the path forward, whatever that looks like. We don't have that version of OneNote yet. So presumably this refreshed OneNote will appear sometime. You would have thought it would have been part of these Office 2021 type announcements, but eventually that thing will appear. And I assume at that point we will see support for Surface Pen, Slim Pen 2, and whatever else. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. If you're looking for other things like supporting your IT department, you should definitely check out Smart Deploy, because Smart Deploy allows IT department to re-image unlimited computer models from one golden image. You can search their library for your models and grab your free subscription over at smartdeploy.com/FRD.
Wow.
There's links in the description area too, wherever that may or may not be on
Yeah, when you point at a part of the screen, I love when people do that.
Let me point at the top of this screen for you.
I think it's fair to say the description will probably always be below, but people are always like, ring the icon. And they point up at the ring the bell and do the thing with the thing. Those things are all over the place. Like, it depends on, don't assume everyone's on a phone,
Yeah. I'm going to take this brief moment here that if you do not appreciate inappropriate recycling jokes, I would turn off the podcast now and just say, have a good day. I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2. Okay. So anyways, Paul, we didn't talk about this guy yesterday, although Paul and I started to, which is why I'm telling you, viewers, if you don't like inappropriate recycling jokes, please log off now. So this is, Paul knows where this is going. So this is the 20% recycled plastic mouse from Microsoft.
By the way, just sorry to interrupt real quick. I've described it that way myself. It's actually not 20% recycled.
What is it?
Only that top shell part is 20% recycled.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 7% recycled.
So this is recycled from ocean plastic, and as I told Paul yesterday, there's going to be a picture of me on the beach chucking this into the ocean, screaming, "You're free!" or go home.
I think I envisioned one with your daughter, where there's a bunch of these, like you said, turtles heading toward the water, and she's like, "Why are they not going into the water?" But yeah, well, baby steps. The packaging is 100% recycling, so I threw that thing right in the bin. So I feel good about that, saving the planet one box at a time. And
Oh, I didn't realize.
It's fine. It's fine. It's ambidextrous, I guess. It's not particularly ergonomic, obviously. It's cheap and plastic and inexpensive. And by the way, here's a little puzzle for you to figure out. Maybe it's in that thing you're holding. I didn't see it. Supposedly, what you get with this mouse are some exclusive wallpapers.
Really?
I don't. Where would those things be?
Well, this is like some
good
sort
luck
of
finding them.
instruction, safety, and regulation guide. Do not use on a boat. Do not use on a beach.
Right.
I don't see anything. There is a QR code, but all it says is for support.
Oh, maybe that's where you get them.
But I would be surprised. I mean, it just says, it doesn't
support that Microsoft that guy.
And then the bottom,
I don't know.
Anyway,
it's fine. What do you want from a $25 mouse?
Right.
It's the odd thing to me is they called it out,
Mm-hmm.
and they call it out by its name, which, as I said when they announced it, just highlights the fact that nothing else they do is sustainable. right? Microsoft, like all big tech companies, has some pledge whereby whatever year they're going to be carbon neutral or carbon negative or whatever it is. And, like I keep saying, I talk to PC makers all the time. They've been doing this recycle thing for years and years. I mean, every time you talk to one of these companies and they come up with a new product, there's some bigger percentage of ocean-bound recycled product in it, or reclaimed ocean, what do you call it? Ocean reclaimed, plastic. So that's all. It's all good. I mean, there's nothing negative to it. I just think it's weird that they called it out, because there's no way that Microsoft isn't in last place when it comes to this kind of thing. Like, and granted, they don't sell a lot of hardware, but I've certainly had my share of Microsoft hardware come through here that I have to toss in the trash because it breaks or whatever, or use a keyboard for too long or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the effort, but man.
Well, they certainly contributed to global warming with all that hot bagging.
Still are.
Yeah, actually, I've
still are. I mean, let's not pretend that stopped.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say my Surface Laptop 4, I believe, did it when I traveled last. I don't know if it was updating or whatever, but it was. I pulled it out. I'm like, oh, this feels like a Hot Pocket. Like,
so I didn't put this in my first impressions article because it's a first impressions article, but I had already written that article by this point. But the day that Windows 11 was announced, or whatever day that was, whatever day, Monday or Tuesday, our time. I'm like, I'm going to use this Surface Pro 8 to take screenshots because it's a relatively clean install. I haven't removed any of the default icons or anything yet because, for this reason, took a screenshot, the freaking thing like froze up on me. I'm like, okay. And then I couldn't control it, delete anything. It wouldn't respond to anything. So I just held down the power button and it shut off, and then it wouldn't come back on. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I plugged it in. I just waited a few minutes, and it finally did come on, and it froze again. And I'm like, oh boy. So here's the thing. So why don't I mention that in the first impressions? Because this may just be a one-off thing. Like it hasn't happened since then. It's been, over a day, or whatever. And I've used it. I mean, I'm using it, but it's hard with Surfaces like Pixel in this way. Like, love these devices. I've been bit many times by them. And you recoil a little bit when something like this happens because it's a little too familiar, So we'll see. I'm not saying there's something wrong with it. But it's worth mentioning only because there have been things wrong in the past, and I worry about it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Take that as you will, I guess.
We will see. We'll also see what happens with our friends over at Smart Deploy, which is modern endpoint solutions for the modern hybrid workplace. Head on over to smartdeploy.com/FRD. Like Kramer hitting golf balls into the ocean.
The sea was angry that day.